Hi everybody, it's me again, and I look horrible, and I probably sound just horrible too. I'm kind of a headache, and you know, long night. Not a long night, but I was up semi-late with my brother. My parents went out of town. Yeah, I live with my parents, 24. But anyway, I wanted to talk today about something that's very important to me and very important to most people. If you ask them, I think most people will say that religion and philosophy are fairly important. If they're religious people, and even if they're atheists, I think a lot of times, that's important to them too, because that's well, it's not a religion. I wouldn't say. I used to argue that it was a religion, but I don't know if I would say now today that it's a religion, but excuse me, I think that often atheists feel as strongly about their religious beliefs or lack thereof than many religious people, really. The type of religious person that just doesn't really care. The Sunday Catholic and the person that just goes to church for holidays and doesn't really think about it the rest of the year, which is fine. I mean, if it's just not important to you, it's just not important to you. But for me, it's fairly important, and I think it's a core part of who I am and who many people are. It really helps knowing someone's religion. It helps knowing that when you're getting to know them, because what they believe tells a lot about them, almost as much as their actions do. Actions will always speak louder than words. So, it's important to be able to see their religious beliefs too. But I am what I wanted to talk about is my religious beliefs, because I've never done this in a video, and I thought it was something that I just felt like needed to be done and said. And this is a statue that one of my friends, a little mini statue, that one of my friends, very close, dear friend of mine, brought back from Greece on his military campaign in the Marines. And it kind of illustrates the pantheon that I worship. I don't know if you can see the word there at the bottom, but it's pretty obvious to anyone that knows mythology that this is Apollon, or Apollo, the Greek god of music, light, poetry. Um, And so my friend David brought that back from Greece for me. I don't remember where he said he got it, but I had told him months before that I was no longer Christian, and he's still Christian. He's a strong believer in that faith, which is great. Good for him. But I had told him that I had left the faith and had taken up belief in the Greek pantheon, in Hellenismos, which is a revival of sorts of the ancient beliefs of Greece. And Zeus, Apollo, Hera, Hercules, those deities and demigods. And he, he's a Christian, and he took it pretty well. He was, it was just like, oh man, well, that's your prerogative, and I think that's a healthy attitude for anyone, no matter how strongly you feel about religion. Especially for a best friend. We've been friends since we were in 7th grade, and at that point we had both graduated high school, and he was in the Marines and I was off doing college and farting around. And so he thought of me enough to, when he saw those little statues, that he remembered that I had told him that my patron of sorts, or one of the gods that I felt closest to, was Apollo. So he got me that statue and brought it back, and I was very touched, because for a Christian to do that for a pagan friend is a huge gesture in this day and age. Still, it would have been bigger 100 years ago, but now it's even, it's still enough to it was very touching. And just that he was thinking of me that much and had remembered what I told him all those months ago was very nice. So anyway, that is what I believe in. I'm what they call a Hellenic polytheist reconstructionist. We typically just use the demonym of the ancient Greeks, Hellenes, or Hellenis. I don't remember the pronunciation, to be honest. I'm not a very good Hellenic. So, or Hellene. So, And that just means Greek, really, if you directly translate it from the Greek. It basically just means that we try to reconstruct, hence Reconstructionism, if you don't know what that is. We reconstruct the beliefs of the ancients in a modern context. So no, most of us don't do animal sacrifice. You won't find most of us with goat blood on our hands or whatever. I have met people that do this, but only because they live on a ranch and the animals are theirs anyway. And often they'll pick animals that they were going to take off to be slaughtered anyway, and what they'll do is they'll split the meat between whoever they were going to give it to and an offering, a sacrifice. So and that's in keeping with the religious tradition of the ancients too. They would often, one of the things, kind of like the Last Supper. In fact, the Last Supper may have roots in this kind of religious behavior. Where you have a meal and you offer a part up to the gods and burn that for them, and then you share in the meal as it's burning, or at least as it's sitting on the altar. And this is shared in modern Day of the Dead traditions in Mexico and the southern United States. They have feasts for their dead. Well, we have feasts for our gods, and we partake of it with them. And that's a big part of the Greek tradition that kind of fell by the wayside when Christianity came about, whereas Christians, worship. You see them praying. The typical Christian prayer is bowed with the bowed head, showing respect. Well, the Greeks were big on having personal respect and personal pride, so they pray like this with their heads up and their arms up, looking towards Olympus, because if you don't have pride, a certain level of pride, then why are the gods even going to hear your prayer? Why, if you're not brave enough to stand face to face with their home, where you're not actually seeing them in person, then why are they going to give you the time of day? I mean, you wouldn't talk to somebody who walked up to you like this and said, hi, how are you? You'd kind of ask them to, hey, what's your problem? Like, look up at me. My eyes are up here. Like, come on. So that's kind of our attitude. Not that we disrespect people who tend to take this pose of respect, and we do that from time to time, or I do. But for the most part, I want to appear as though I have come with something important to say when I come before my gods and goddesses. So I typically face the east and stand with my arms raised, both arms, and facing up towards, as if there was Olympus right in front of me and I was staring at it. So that's kind of my imagery when I'm praying or doing ritual. So that's kind of that. I mean, our religious tenets revolve around reciprocity. So if you're given a blessing by the gods and you recognize it as a blessing, you're expected to then give an offering. Or if you're asking for something, you're expected to give an offering, because you don't get something for nothing. On occasion, you can give a gift for no reason, and you're expected to, because the gods deserve that, and they deserve our worship, and it's not unheard of for you to get a gift, back just for being, a healthy person following the gods, and you maybe without even a specific votive offering, which is a physical gift, you may have done something that pleased the gods in another way. That's not the only form of worship. Living, for instance, a part of worshiping Apollo is music. So anytime you make pleasant music and you really try hard to make your music good, you could be considered worshiping Apollo, because that's his realm of expertise. Anytime you're drinking and partying, you could potentially be pleasing Dionysus, who is another one of the gods that I'm close with, and Artemis. Anytime that you're protecting wilderness areas or donating to like the SPCA or something that helps with animals in the wild, or even domesticated animals that don't have homes, could be considered an act of worship for Artemis, because she is the protectress of the wild and wild animals, and she's associated with those kinds of things. And also when you're hunting, she's the huntress, so that's another way. And her and Apollo, the twins, are the two of the gods that I'm very close to. The other two are Dionysos and Hermes. And Hermes, because communication is a big thing for me, and marketing and sales and those kinds of things. I'm very skilled in those areas, or I tend to be. And I tend to enjoy that sort of interpersonal communication. So Hermes is real big for me as well. Anyway, without making this go too much longer, because I know a lot of people find this stuff boring. If you want to know more, I recommend Greek Religion, the book by Walter Burkert. I believe it was translated from Greek to German to English or something, or he wrote it in German and it was translated to English. But you can find copies for, $15-20, probably less. I don't know how much I paid for mine. But it's very academic and dry, so if you don't want an academic approach, you'll have to look elsewhere. There are groups around the internet. So if you're interested, for any reason, whether it's academic or spiritual, maybe you're considering a new path yourself, you can always find that information online. The Neokoroi, Neokoroi, is a good group, and then there's Hellenion, which I won't spell because it's too long and I'm taking up too much of your time. But you can find those online, and they'll give you information. You can ask questions, or you can just go read the literature that they have available. So anyway, that's that. I just thought I wanted to share that with everybody, and I hope it at least got you thinking about not non-traditional paths in today's world, and religion doesn't have to be the mainstream if you don't want it to be. So there you go. That's what I believe in, or part of what I believe in. So I will leave you with that. Have an unbelievable day.